Welcome to Garden Wise Adventures. Today we're going to do another video in my series on landscape design. And today we're going to talk about how to draw your base map. We're going to cover several different ways to do it. So whether you have landscape software or if you're just drawing out by hand, we're going to cover everything. So come with me and enjoy this next adventure. Now, for those who have not seen any of my other design videos, I will link them at the top of the screen here. Those videos cover the site analysis and they're very important to landscape design. So if you haven't watched those first, go ahead and watch that playlist and then come on back. If you like my videos, go ahead and subscribe and hit that like button and share them with your friends. So let's get started creating our base map. Now, I realize that if you have not done landscape design before, the process can be just a little bit overwhelming. So now the first thing you should have done, and I'll link a video up at the top for you to watch, but the first thing you should have done is measure your property. There's several different ways to do that. Just watch the previous video that I've done and you can get your measurements done. Now, once you've gotten the measurements done, you need to gather your materials. The materials are very simple. So the first thing you'll need is just a plain sheet of paper. If that's all you have, paper and a pencil, then you can actually design your landscape using a paper and pencil. If you want to get a little more fancy, you can use graph paper like this. Something else that would really help is tracing paper, and we'll go over what you can use this for. Last of all, if you really want to get fancy, you can have a ruler. Any kind of ruler works. So let's get started. Now, the easiest way to create your base landscape design is to print out a picture of your property from Google Maps. Now, I have logged on to Google Maps and this is my property. So what you do is you just go in, right click, click print, and then you're able to print a picture of your property. Let me show you what you can do with that. So I went and got my map printed. I have my map right here, and I'm sorry about the glare behind me, but the window is very important. I'm going to show you a trick so that you can get a good tracing of this map. So all you need to do to be able to easily trace your map is take your map to your largest window, tape a piece of paper over that map, and if it's light enough, you can actually see all the way through well enough to do the tracing. And let me show you what my tracing looks like. So this is what my tracing looks like on regular paper and on graph paper. Now, if you notice, I did not include very many details. All I included in this first base map, for the base map on this first tracing, is the structures that are not going to move. I have the fence lines, I have the gates, the house, my deck. I added the lawn area in the back right here because this whole area is a slope and there's not a lot I can do, especially with this area right here. So that is included so I can tell where the lawn area is. I also included my driveway and my front steps. So we have all of that included in this first base map. The other thing I included is an arrow to show which way is north and the scale on this. So on this drawing right here, 1 square is approximately 5 feet. Now I figured that out with the measurements I had done prior to this. So I counted each square. I know that this line right here is 96 feet long, and so I just divided that by the number of squares and figured out how many feet that is. If you don't want to use graph paper, graph paper is actually the easiest way to go, but if you don't have graph paper, you can actually use a ruler and count the number of lines on the ruler and divide that by the number of feet. So on this ruler, 1/16 inch, there's 16 there's 16 of these little lines in 1 inch. That equals approximately 1 foot. It's never going to be exact, but it's close enough. It can accomplish the next step that I'm going to show you. Now, if you don't have a printer, there's another method that you can use. You can take a piece of paper. It's a lot easier if you tape it down, but you overlay the screen with that piece of paper. Take your ruler. I use a ruler because my hands are not steady, and you can just trace out your map. Now, if you're lucky enough to have design software, the maps that you can create with those are scaled automatically. Let me show you the design software that I use and how I got this map. The first place I start is the same place I started if I hand draw, and that's on Google Maps. And I just saved this map as a PDF. Go into the landscape software. Once you're into the landscape software, I use Pro Landscape. With this software, I can actually upload a PDF and trace over the top of it. So I traced over the property lines. I added in fencing, added my lawn area, put down the footprint of the house, put in all of the hardscapes. And once I did that, I could go in, I actually went in and was able to delete the PDF. And what is left is my base map. And I can print this out at any scale I want. So I just printed it out at 1/16 inch equals 1 foot, just like when I hand drew it. And this comes out scaled exactly right. It's a much quicker way for me to do it. So now let's move on to the next step. This is where the tracing paper comes in really handy. What you're going to do is you're going to overlay your design with the tracing paper, and then you're going to go back to the inventory that we created through the site analysis. And I will link the videos here so you can understand what that is. And in the first part of our site analysis inventory, we went through and figured out what we wanted to use our property for. Do you want outdoor kitchens? Do you want a pool? Do you want gardens? Do you need a play area for kids? Chickens or sheds? Just all the different things that you feel like you need in your landscape. You're going to overlay your base map with the tracing paper and just kind of quickly sketch in, and just make shapes. Don't make it too detailed. Just sketch in the different areas that you're going to need. Now what we're going to do with that is we're going to cut these different areas out. They're just basic shapes. You can make them any size that you want. And then we're going to move them around on your map. So let's do that. Let's get these cut out and show you what that would look like. I have my different shapes cut out, and I can actually move them to anywhere I want on the map. So I've kind of placed them where I think they will work best, but what I need to do next before we make any decisions is go out to my yard, either with this map with the little pieces taped down, or just go out and remember what this map looks like, and walk through my yard and see if these are actually really the best spots for these elements. For example, food forest. How much sun does this area actually get? As you can see, north is that way, so this is on the north side of the house. So I need to make sure that a food forest will get enough sun, or plan on planting shade-tolerant plants. Put a shed here, a fire pit here. Is that going to work with the flow of traffic? Is the garden going to be accessible up here and usable? So that's what you need to do. Next week, we're going to continue on with the process, but this week what you need to do is just get the basic elements, figure out where on your map they're going to work the best. So hopefully this video has been helpful for you. Please go out and try it. Whether you use landscape software or you hand draw it, just get your base map printed out, figure out where you want to put the elements that you have decided on in your inventory, figure out exactly where you want those in your landscape, and figure out where they're going to work. So next week we're going to continue on with this process. And until then, have a wonderful garden adventure.